Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Craig Sager. Today we're going to be joined by Najee Wilkins, Max, Tim Scott of the GHSA. We're going to talk about some breaking news. We're also going to talk to Darren Miles, head coach of Carver Atlanta. He was named the Atlanta Falcons Coach of the Year. And then we'll close out the show talking about the grant program that the Atlanta Falcons have put on for building a flag football team. It has been huge in growing the sport in these first few years of flag football. But I hope everyone enjoyed their snow day on Friday. We were still busy putting up content on scoreatl.com. We have tons of breaking news up there, rankings, and blogs. But let's go ahead and welcome on our co-host, Najee Wilkins. Najee, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Hope you had a good little snowstorm and got to enjoy it with the family. How's everything going?
It did. I enjoyed it because I did not even try to go outside. It didn't ruin my shoes. I let everyone else have the fun. Just stayed in, wrote some good stories, and then got to watch some football this weekend.
One quick question. No snow runs. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Craig is an avid runner. No snow runs.
I went on a treadmill. And then I got to throw this in. I played tennis yesterday. I finally won a match, my first victory since 2002. So that was outstanding. And the people I beat were younger than me, so I don't feel bad. I didn't beat someone in their 70s, so it was fun. It was a little cold, but it's an overall good weekend. But Najee, before we get into these fast break headlines, one of the big stories came out of Cedartown. Coach Jamie Abrams was fired. We saw two big hires also. Flowery Branch decided to get Michael Perry, Union County's head coach. He comes in with a lot of experience. I think that's a solid hire. And then Commerce is going to bring in Lenny Gregory. Lenny Gregory led Collins Hill to its first ever state title. They lost pretty much their entire roster. They had a rough year. He left, went to Gordon Central, and now he's back. I think with Coach Gregory, that's going to be a very exciting region next year. You have Athens Academy, who is going to compete in the private, but they're still going to have to play them. You got Raven County. You got Commerce now, led by Lenny Gregory, and Elbert County is going to be led by Andy Dyer, Archer's former coach. I mean, that is one of the best regions in Class A Division I for sure. I think Flowery Branch, that's the team that has been a little above average. I mean, they're going to produce winning records, but this is an opportunity to get to the next step. And then the Cedartown job definitely had people talking this weekend. Najee, what was your reaction to seeing Coach Abrams let go?
Yeah, to be honest with you, Craig, I didn't understand it. You're talking about a coach that's been to a finals, has been to a semifinals, went to the finals in 2022, 65-19 as a head coach, 3 region championships, always had them on the doorstep, always had them as a great program. This year competed at a high-end level. They did go out in the first round, but when you look, they was playing for a region championship against Cartersville, who made it to the quarterfinals this past year. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I know they, probably looking for something else, but I thought Coach Abrams is top tier coach. He'll be on his feet quick. He's one of the best coaches I think we have here in the Peach State, and I thought he did a great job and phenomenal job with a lot of those kids that he coached.
I completely agree. And obviously their loss in the state championship, that was as heartbreaking as you can get. They came up 1 yard short to Benedictine. They had a tough loss in the playoffs this year to Cambridge, but outside of that, obviously Cedartown wants to win state championships. They have a lot of talent, but I feel like the culture there was pretty impressive because you have guys like Nick Chubb coming back, working out with the future Bulldogs. It seemed like that was a really just like closely bonded community that, I mean, obviously Coach Abrams was a part of that. So yeah, they didn't have the state championships, but it seemed like they had all the other ingredients going for them.
Yeah, 100%. When you look at their culture, and I got a chance to call their game against Cartersville, I was thoroughly impressed. The whole community was out there. very friendly people, just always tuned in. The players and the camaraderie between them. It's just a great culture that they have there at Cedartown, and just everybody bonding together, for one common goal. So that's why I said, to me, it's still kind of head scratching, because you don't find that everywhere, right? When you look at culture and programs that's been along for a while, you look at the Marisons of the world, they have a culture and a brand about themselves. And it felt like, to your point, Craig, they have a culture and a brand about themselves with Cedartown and Coach Abrams. So that's why I said it's a little head scratching to me, especially when you have that in your program.
Yeah, and I think two things are going to happen. I think, one, Coach Abrams will land on his feet at one of these other jobs that's open now. His name will be out there in consideration for some of these big-time opportunities. And then, two, it might be a difficult situation for the new coach, because this hiring came as a little bit of a surprise. It seemed like a lot of the players really respected Coach Abrams. I think once they bring in a new coach, I feel like they might modernize the offense a little bit. But it's going to be about getting the kids to buy in, whoever the new leadership is. I mean, I think they'll do it. Class 4A seems to be pretty wide open. They have the talent. They work extremely hard in the weight room. They're going to crush it in track and field, baseball, all these other sports too. So I think a lot of things are good, just unfortunate, but I think both will land on their feet. But let's go ahead. We'll get into these fast break headlines, Najee. Without further ado, I'll start things off with Buford's Caroline Stanton wins softball pitcher of the year. Each trip to Columbus for the final stage of the state fast pitch softball tournament brings a unique journey, and the 2024 Buford team's path was more meandering than many of its past playoff runs. It was a 7-game grind. The 12-time state champion Wolves beat Brookwood 5-3 on the opening day before falling 2-0 to powerhouse East Coweta the next day. From there, they beat North Gwinnett, North Cobb, and Mill Creek, emerging from the losers bracket to reach the championship in a rematch of East Coweta that ended up falling short 1-0 in Game 1. It was the only loss of the season for East Coweta, and then they pulled out a 4-3 victory. So very close, but the pitcher, Caroline Stanton, was standout for Buford the entire year, and she was named Gwinnett Softball Pitcher of the Year.
All right, headline 2, Terry's favorites officially commits to Boise State from Carver. Atlanta had a phenomenal past season, man, really blew up in recruiting. All classification player for us. He also was first-team All-State as an athlete, first-team All-State receiver, 2A Athlete of the Year, in Atlanta Public Schools MVP. So obviously a phenomenal season for him. We had him actually in the studio over break, or I said before break, and he was breaking down his everything, as far as his season went, things he worked on, and just him blowing up and his big playability, as you can see here on that return for a touchdown. So obviously big news for him, super excited for him, and more offers are starting to come in. Georgia Tech offered him, UNC Charlotte offered him. So now he's starting to kind of blow up, and people are starting to really see his talent.
Yeah, and Boise State obviously made a ton of noise this year. Very excited, and he's a player that can do it all. He's going to bring that playmaking ability and athleticism. He was first-team All-State wide receiver, the Class 2A Athlete of the Year, and the APS MVP. But we will have his head coach on in the next segment, Coach Miles, to talk about that. All right, headline number 3, the Touchdown Club honors the best players in flag football. This was the 2024 season-ending banquet. Central Gwinnett's Nalani Gainey was honored as the Athlete of the Year, while top offensive awards went to Grayson's Maggie White as Quarterback of the Year, Seconders Talia Brown as Running Back of the Year, Peachtree Ridge's Mariella Morales as Wide Receiver of the Year, and Grayson's Layla Wade as Center of the Year. This was for Gwinnett County. The top Defensive Award winners were GAC's Jaden Hill as Rusher of the Year, South Gwinnett's Carmen Reese as Inside Linebacker of the Year. North Gwinnett's Marissa Geisler was Outside Linebacker of the Year, and then Peachtree Ridge's Aaliyah Jarrell was Defensive Back of the Year. You can see the All-County First Team and All-County Defensive Team listed up there. Great job. Voted on by the coaches involved in Gwinnett County. Quite a list as Gwinnett County tries to become a flag football powerhouse.
Yes, they are. All right, at number 4, Douglas County standout receiver Devin Carter has officially committed over the weekend to the Auburn Tigers. Obviously, a big move for him. He's heavily rated. Went off this year for 41 catches for 669 yards and 5 touchdowns for the Tigers, who made it to the semifinals before losing to eventual state champion, the Grayson Rams. Obviously, this past year, he won a state championship in 2023 with Cedar Grove. If you guys remember, that great Saints team ended up being Savannah Christian. in the state championship that year. According to 247 Sports, ranked as the number 4 receiver, number 4 player in Georgia, and also number 29 player nationally. All right. Headline number 5, we'll go to Max Prep's All-American team. Obviously, it's a phenomenal group, man. Names to know here in the state of Georgia: Xavier Brinson, Arabia Mountain, 6'6", 220, tall athletic target, had 35 catches for 535 yards and 5 touchdowns. Offensive lineman from Heritage Conyers, Malachi Dudley. He's 6'5", 320, very agile and pass protection and enforcing the ground game. Casey Barner, who we know very well, physical defensive back, also electric with the ball in his hands. He had a great showcase and an opening to the season in the Cornell Dave Hunter Classic in their game. Running back Kevin Hartsfield of Newton. They seem like they always producing a great back, average 14 yards per carry, and finished with 8 touchdowns this past year. Carrollton offensive lineman Queely Felder, blocked for 5-star, obviously, Julian Lewis. And obviously is one of the best offensive linemen here in the state. Christian Webb Scott of Buford, long athletic edge rusher, flash for one of the nation's most talent-laden programs here in the state of Georgia. And last but not least, athlete Giovanni Tuggle, Winterboro, who actually Hayden wrote about on ScoreATL.com, so you get more there. But he had a phenomenal year, finishing with 39 tackles.
Yeah, that is an impressive list for sure. There's some familiar teams in there like the Carrolltons of Buford, but you throw in there Arabia Mountain, Newton, Heritage Conyers. There are some hidden gems just getting their career started for those teams. Very exciting list. And did you cover the who wrote the post on the freshman All-American team?
He wrote about the top 2028. That was Hayden.
Okay, so that's the same class. And then we saw the sophomore All-American teams were listed as well. And then we saw that was Tyler Atkinson won the junior Player of the Year All-American. So definitely those next 3 classifications are not classification, graduating classes are going to be well represented with Georgia talent. Naj, before we hit the break after this first segment, give us your thoughts just on the NCAA championship matchup. You picked this correctly. What do you think it means, though, just seeing Ohio State and Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup. 2 elite teams. Marcus Freeman actually used to play for Ohio State, so you got a little bit of storylines there as well. Notre Dame has one of the best defenses in the country. They forced that late interception by Drew Aller, who threw late over the middle of the field. So phenomenal job by them. Defense was potent all day long. They made it tough, I thought, in that one for Drew Aller. Only person that couldn't really stop was Nick Singleton, who had 3 touchdowns. And then Ohio State, right? That was kind of a defensive battle with Texas. They took away and bracketed Jeremiah Smith the whole game. 1 catch, 3 yards. But they was running the ball, and Will Howard made the throws to Carnell Tate throughout the game. So you got 2 great opponents, 2 really good defenses. Jack Sawyer was kind of that player of the game, forcing that late turnover, that forced fumble, and returning it for 82 yards for a touchdown. So I think you got 2 elite opponents going. The only thing that concerns me for Notre Dame is just their passing attack. You're going to have to be able to pass the ball against Ohio State. You're going to want to have a chance. They flow to the ball too quick. One last thing I'll say, go back to that toss sweep play that they tried to go to Contravian Wisner. They flew to the ball. First there was Caleb Downs, former Mill Creek star here in the state of Georgia, and the rest of that defense moved. They are too fast, so they're going to look to take away that running game. They're going to have to lean on Greathouse, Bo Collins, and everybody else to attack vertically if you want to have a chance.
That's a great point. And we knew Ohio State, their offense has gotten a lot of praise. Texas's defense had gotten a lot of praise heading into that matchup. I felt like Ohio State's defense showed up, made some big plays, and then what do you think of the big touchdown right before the half that was the answer to Texas?
Yeah, I mean that was huge. I mean, they got 7-7, they got all the momentum, and then they sell out blitz, which I didn't understand. Usually you want to play prevent defense there. Perfect play call at the right time by Chip Kelly. Go to Trevion Henderson, big playmaker, and right on cue, he turns it all the way. That was a big momentum shift.
Yes, it was. And he was looking back. No one was able to catch him. Should be a very exciting matchup. 2 great games. Cannot wait for it. But that concludes our first segment. We're going to be back on the other side to catch up with Darren Miles, head coach of Carver Atlanta, our Atlanta Falcons Coach of the Year.
Committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
The Georgia Sheet Metal JETC equips apprentices with the knowledge and skills required to start a rewarding career in the sheet metal industry with programs in HVAC, industrial welding, and testing, adjusting, and balancing. Training is 100% free and allows apprentices to earn as they learn. Journeymen graduate with no student debt and have the potential to earn more than most college graduates. Visit our website to learn more about this opportunity at careersinsheetmetal.com.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Man, you know how to do this?
Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, we're going to welcome on Darren Miles, head coach of Carver Atlanta. Coach Miles, how's it going?
It's going great. How's it going with you?
I'm doing fantastic. So I saw that you were at the final game for the Falcons against the Panthers. You were recognized the Coach of the Year, and kind of update us on where that's at right now. Have you been given tickets to the Super Bowl, and will you be able to go back to your hometown in New Orleans and catch the action?
Yes, I will be receiving tickets to the Super Bowl. I don't have the actual tickets yet. That's in the process. But I will be returning home to my hometown of New Orleans to watch the Super Bowl and be recognized as the Atlanta Falcons High School Coach of the Year. And that is obviously very special. What does it mean, though, the fact that the Super Bowl is in your former hometown, just looking back at how your coaching journey started, your football journey, being able to go back there? Man, it means a lot. You know, I just had some thoughts, flashbacks about how I started out playing football in New Orleans in the recreational system, you know, New Orleans. It just thought about the middle school. Well, not middle school for me, it was junior high school at that time. Junior high school and then high school. And I'm only like maybe 4 miles. My high school is maybe 4 miles from the Mercedes-Benz. 2.8 miles from actual Canal Street, Bourbon Street area. And just to be able to go home and be recognized for something that I wanted to make an impact on, you know, meaning impacting the lives of young men, just like my high school coaches and recreational coaches did for me. So, I mean, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's also even more special, too, because I'm representing the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia, because I understand the hard work that all the coaches put in, you know, day in and day out, just to be able to put kids on the football field. There's things going on behind closed doors in terms of, you know, from a mental aspect, spiritual development, you know, physical development, you know, helping them become young men. And then you get to Friday night to play a football game. So to be recognized amongst all the other high school coaches, that's a blessing as well. Certainly. And New Orleans is where it got started for you, but really coming to Atlanta, that was obviously where your coaching career took off. You took the job at Crim. That was when you proved you can win in the state of Georgia. You went to Douglas, and then you've been at Carver, building that program up. I want to ask you just about the culture at Carver Atlanta. You were talking to me about some of the things you've been doing just to make sure you're hands-on with the players every day, from the time they walk in the hallway, the things like yoga, the leadership meetings. Walk us through just what each week kind of looks like and just the expectations that surrounds each of your players. Well, you know, I get breakfast in the morning for the boys. You know, our nutrition staff here on campus do an outstanding job of working with me. So they allow me to get breakfast for the football players and have it in the locker room. So I do that. They'll pack it up for me. I go pick it up in the morning. Excuse me. Bring it to the locker room. Have it set up on our little nutrition table. That way, I get to see the players every morning. We greet each other. Good morning. That's appropriate greeting. Make sure you always acknowledge yourself. Good morning, coach. And I'm saying good morning. Then they're going to get their breakfast and their juice and fruit. And they'll sit and talk a little bit while they're eating, and then they'll move on to class. And then, so also, let's say if it's during the season, if that's a Monday, that Monday we'll be in what we call team polo shirts, right? So kids have on their polo shirts and their tan khaki pants, so we all dressed alike on that Monday for team unity. So I get to see and check that also. And on Tuesdays, of course, they'll come in and get their breakfast, and they'll be in the school uniform. Wednesday, shirt and tie days. And this is during the daytime, so I can rewind back to Monday. That Monday evening, we're going to have study hall, and I run study hall myself. So here again, I'm hands-on with that. They sign in, they'll get an after-school snack and talk a little bit, maybe about 5 minutes about their day. And then they get on to some homework or some peer tutoring with each other. And then we'll transition from that to have a team meeting that day, just talk about something that relates to leadership or decision-making, and to give them some word for the week, to help us transition to that Friday night football game. But also on that Monday evening, we do have yoga, and we'll go from yoga for about 45 minutes, and then we'll do our lifting for that day, and then go on outside for practice and try to do our intro conditioning, work on things that need to be corrected on, come back in, watch film from Friday night, and get ready for the week. So that Tuesday, the thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we spoke, we do have a representative from a pastor from the local area. He's actually about 5 minutes away. Comes in and speak with the boys, give them some spiritual development. That's just players and pastor only. Wednesday, we have FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, one of my former players who is now on that staff. So he runs that. He does that with the players as well. And then, of course, Thursday we'll practice in the morning. And then we'll do our walkthrough. And that Friday we'll have a devotional before the game with another pastor that I've been knowing since he's been in college, actually. He grew up in the Pittsburgh community, but he has a church in Forest Park. And that's pretty much our weekly routine throughout the season. And of course, now that we're in the off season, we still do the breakfast in the morning because I still want to see them. We gave them some weeks off, but probably about a month off. So we just started our lifting routine. But that breakfast just allowed me to see them first thing in the morning. And if something goes on, somebody got a negative body language, I can tell something may have happened during that weekend. And I get the opportunity to sit and counsel with them and let them talk it out, and we come up with a solution. So that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. And then by meeting with them each morning, you're able, if someone does have a problem, you're able to just basically address it right away, make sure they're back on the right path. I think one of the other things that this award highlights is player safety. And I really like the answer you gave just regarding the concussion protocol, some of the other things. You said as a coach, you don't get compensated for victories. Putting a guy back in there when they should probably be resting, it doesn't boost your salary or anything like that. Just showing that there really is no reason for you to want to jeopardize their health, and you've been able to be really careful. What are some of the other things that you've done as a head coach just to prepare your staff for those moments and make sure that you're being cautious?
Of course, AED, CPR training. Of course, that's across the board, not for every sport, but I make certain that we all do that, and we execute that plan sometime, in practice, what would take place, emergency action plan. If there was something that happened during practice, for example, if a kid were to get injured and we're on one side of the field, we'll actually relocate that drill and have certain coaches attend to the injured player while the rest of the coaches supervise the other players that are practicing. So those things we practice, and to make certain that the players are safe. Clearly, we want to make sure they have the proper equipment on, mouthpieces, up-to-date helmets, shoulder pads, etc. And then speaking of with the concussion deal, that's those are non-negotiable. So we are fortunate enough to have an athletic trainer named Jared Daniel, and he does our outstanding job of assessing those injuries and concussions and setting up appointments with the local doctor to get them evaluated. If they say they're out for 1 week, they're going to be out for 1 week. They're out for 2 weeks, they're going to be out for 2 weeks. So those are non-negotiable. And I just talked about, in our school district, there's no compensation for winning games, nor championships. So there's no need to be winning at all costs. And even if it was the way my philosophy is, that wouldn't be taking place anyway, because that's life after football. They're going to have to use their brains to make a living. So we want to make certain that those heads are taken care of.
Certainly. And then real quick, let's talk a little bit about the academics. A guy that was a 4-year starter for you, we got to see him play. Aquantis Clemens ended up being your valedictorian. I think, was he the guy that went on to play at Rice, or is he just a student there? That's
him. He went on to play at Rice. So with Aquantis was a valedictorian. He got the Posse Scholarship, but he was also fortunate enough to get the Gates Millennial Scholarship, which allowed him to be able to attend school anywhere in the country for free. So with that, he was a little undersized as a defensive lineman. When he had the opportunity to walk on at Georgia Tech. However, the staff was honest enough with me. Actually, Tim McFarland called me and said, "Coach, I'm going to be honest with you, with him being 5'11", it's going to be hard for him to work on earning a scholarship here. He'll probably be a walk-on all 4 years." So in saying that, the defensive line coach at Rice, they were already playing a young man out of Texas that was 5'10", 5'11", and they did a pretty good job for them. And that allowed Aquantis an opportunity to visit Rice and see what they had to offer academically, which was computer science, which he was interested in, and they had that. And so he was able to take advantage of that. He got the Rice Endowment Scholarship and then went up there during the summertime to attend summer school while working out, and, of course, the Gates Millennial, along with any other kind of funds that they allocated for him. So he's actually up there. He finished his second year. He was here last Thursday, and we talked about that. So things are going really well, with him. We also had another young man that kicked for us that went to Georgia Tech. He took advantage of he was a valedictorian as well. He took advantage of his Gates Millennial Scholarship and just decided not to play football anymore and went to Georgia Tech, and he's still a student there. And of course, we talked about Orlando Crooks earning a doctorate from the University of Texas. He came out of the program. He was one of the top offensive linemen in the country. Amir Mills earned his doctorate as well. He's a pharmacist now. He played defensive line for us. And we have a receiver that also right now, that's a former receiver rather, that's studying to become a doctor. He's about 2 years away.
Yeah, well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. You'll be representing, obviously, the Carver Atlanta Panthers, but also the entire state and the Atlanta Falcons at the Super Bowl. Congratulations, Coach, and we hope to see you get that Don Shula Award.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me on, AJ. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet. All right.
Craig, I'm sorry, Craig. Yep.
See you, Coach. All right. There goes Coach Miles. Congratulations once again. He is the 2024 Atlanta Falcons Coach of the Year now. He will be one of 32 coaches being able to go to the Super Bowl, and that award will be announced in late January. But we'll be back on the other side with Tim Scott of the GHSA.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613. It is time to welcome on GHSA Executive Director Tim Scott. Scott, how's it going?
How are y'all?
Doing well. So, in terms of the weather, I think the big sport that was potentially going to be impacted was wrestling. I'd mentioned how important it is to get the weigh-in dates, and you got a bunch of different locations, but was it able to go on as scheduled this weekend?
Well, in any weather thing, you had parts of the state that we were able to take care of it and get it done. You have some schools that are wrestling today and trying to get everything done today. And we hope we can do the bracket pairings tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening for the state tournament. But it affected us a little bit, but thankful that we were safe, and we can always move some things around just like we had to last fall during the hurricane.
That's right. So I guess a lot of the areas were able to complete it, but in order to solidify the brackets, you got to wait for some of the other ones. How many more outstanding tournaments are there for the boys?
There's just a few. I don't know the exact number off my head, but most of them were just in the metro area and north. South of Atlanta and South Georgia, they were all able to take care of what they needed to take care of. And then, of course, those schools that didn't, we have a rule that you can, where you can add a pound and that kind of stuff. And some of them have been able to take advantage of that. And we sent that stuff out before the storm hit to just make sure everybody knew where we're at and what was expected. So we're excited, and hopefully we'll get the state tournament rolling for the duels on the 17th and 18th, which is this coming weekend.
Absolutely. And then in terms of girls wrestling, I remember probably like 5 or 6 years ago, there's a young lady from Statesboro. She made history. I think she finished top 5 or top 4 in the boys division, became the first girl to make state, earn a place on the podium. Then girls wrestling became a sport. Shortly after that, I think it had been held in the Carrollton area the last few years. Now it seems it's going to be at Lumpkin County, and it's on a separate weekend. Is that just a result of the sport kind of growing? There's more teams. It makes more sense to separate it?
Oh, absolutely. It's growing a lot. It's one of the fastest. That, and of course, girls flag football. Both of them are really blowing up. You got a lot of participants, and so we're excited that kind of growth is taking place in both of those areas.
And then in terms of the sites this year, it looks like that might be a little different too. It's going to be split up 6 different locations. Looking right now, Heard County, Columbus, Troup, Ola, Lassiter, and Buford. Over a 2-day period. How does that change it from the GHSA perspective in terms of just like getting the judges on site? And does it help the schedule just separating the locations?
Well, we're able to do that in the team duels, but the traditional duels, which will be later in February, will be held at the Macon Coliseum down in Macon.
That's right, and that is obviously a very busy week. You got 14 weight classes for the boys. You got, I think, 10 wrestlers in each weight class, and then all the classifications is hundreds and hundreds of wrestlers. They all got to hit the weight. Then you obviously have the scoring right there. In terms of just the sport of wrestling, though, there's some great coaches in the state. There's some big-time powerhouses. What role do you see the sport of wrestling just as a sport that's able to stand on its own, but also it's an opportunity for some athletes that compete in multiple sports? But I mean, if you're 120 pounds, you can win a state title. You can be the best in your weight class. So what's exciting just about wrestling?
Well, I think wrestling, just in general, it's a great competitive sport. It doesn't matter if you're 5'3", 106 pounds, or if you're 6'4", and 255 or 260, you can compete at your own weight class with people of like sizes. It's a great sport for other athletes that want to continue to stay in shape and maybe that run track or that play football and some of those kind of things. And so it's really a great sport for kids, and it's something that you have to grind hard to make sure you stay in shape, and it takes a lot of discipline not to eat sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And then let's talk about bass fishing real quick. We have the first qualifier coming up in
25th.
Yeah, the 25th. That'll be at Lake Seminole. One of the biggest differences, though, I want to talk about it is Kevin Giddens sadly passed away last June. He was integral in getting the sport off the ground. Talk a little bit about just what you take away from your relationship with him, how much he meant to the GHSA, to bass fishing, and then who is going to be able to fill in this year and kind of lead that group.
Well, first of all, Kevin and I have known each other for a long time and coached against each other, and we've been friends, since the early 90s when I first met him. And you wouldn't find a better individual. Just a great guy, and he is, missed by us here at the office. But I told you I'd asked Dr. Hines to stay around and help as a legislative liaison, and he's also been great friends with Kevin too. So when that happened, he offered to pick bass fishing up, and he lives up there on Lake Hartwell. One of the tournaments is right there, but he is kind of handling most of bass fishing as we move into the season, and we'll see. Somebody else will probably, may try to pick that up next year, get it off his plate, but he stepped up and took that, for us, and is doing a great job with it.
And then real quick, one question just about the basketball and the power ratings in those lower classifications. Is it going to be the same as football, where the region tournaments are going to guarantee those 4 spots, but you're going to use the at-large teams if necessary?
Yeah. Yes, sir. The same way. So we're keeping the PSR, the postseason rankings right now. Don Core's working on that just like he did before, and then we'll just use that going forward.
Awesome. Well, you guys are right on schedule. Great that the weekend wasn't disrupted too much. We got a lot of exciting action coming up with wrestling this week and the winter sports after that. Thank you so much, Tim, for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Absolutely. All right, there goes Tim Scott. Well, we will be back on the other side to talk about some more breaking news.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
The Mechanical Trades Institute is an opportunity towards personal financial freedom through hands-on and rewarding work. Our school is completely free and gives apprentices the knowledge and skills required to gain access to a lifelong career path. Apprentices learn pipe fitting, plumbing, mechanical service, and welding. They earn money as they learn and graduate with no student debt. Start a career with the Mechanical Trades Institute and change your financial future.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now I'm joined by Max Waborski, Score Atlanta reporter, writer, researcher, and social media guru. Max, I want to talk about what Score Atlanta has done differently to start the 2025 year. Obviously, we had a really busy year with flag football, expanding Georgia Elite, the first award show. But now we're really focusing on breaking news. We got 7 stories coming out a day. What was this last week like, just searching through the state and finding some stories to highlight?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like right now, Score Atlanta's got more coverage on high school sports than just about anyone in the state. I mean, we have about 7 stories, like you said, coming out a week, ranging from swim and dive to baseball to a bunch of different things. Right now, for swim and dive, we had the season's in full swing. The season's kicked off, or at least started in October, and now state championships are coming up February 4th to the 8th. So yeah, it's just full swing, ready to go, and they're gearing up for the state championships. Absolutely.
And we got one social media thing we want to show you. I think this aired on one of the news outlets, Fox 5. This is pretty exciting. If you see that beautiful snowman right there is wearing a Georgia Elite Classic hat. So that is awesome. It made the news. You see that beanie right there. That was from, I think, last year's Georgia Elite Classic. Every once in a while, see a kid walking around wearing one of those hoodies, obviously from the event. That was very exciting. But another thing that happened on social media this week, Tyler Atkinson, he saw your story. You reported on him winning junior All-American, what was it, Player of the Year?
Junior Max Preps Player of the Year.
Player of the Year, and he saw the article you wrote, thanked you for it. What was that like, just going into that story, highlighting some of his insane numbers, and then being able to see him recognize you for writing that story?
For sure, and Tyler Atkinson is one of those players that I feel deserves all the coverage, as he is one of the top players, if not the top player in the state for the next recruiting class. And he played over the weekend in San Antonio at the Navy All-American Bowl and truly just showed out. I mean, him along with Xavier Griffin, other guys such as Aaron Gregory and more. Devin Carter, I also believe, played in there too from Douglas County. But yeah, just a lot of talent in the state, and for right now, Tyler Atkinson, I believe, is leading the talent for 2026.
Yep, he is probably going to go in next year as not only the #1 rated player in Georgia, but the entire country, and I think it's well-deserved. He's gotten better and better. Probably the best defensive player I've ever seen. The numbers speak for itself. So you've done the swimming blog, you got your daily dive. That's where you highlighted Tyler. What other blogs are you going to focus on a weekly basis?
So on a weekly basis, I'll have my class blog. So that is Class A and Class 4A. So from our 4A class blog last week, we wrote about Pace Academy and Charmin White, who we had on our show. Just another impressive basketball program from around the state. And they're 14-2 right now, firing on all cylinders. Undefeated in the state, actually, with only 2 losses to Pembroke Pines Charter and Waxahachie in Texas, just by a combined 14 points. So they're firing on all cylinders and ready to go for the state championships coming up.
Yep, and we got Najee on. So we've got 5 plus Seth, each kind of dividing and conquering. We got Najee Wilkins also with his coverage. Najee, what's your weekly story lineup looking like, and anything that you have on the board for this week?
Yeah, I got 5A blog, so I'm probably going to highlight one of the big basketball programs when it comes to mine. I also got a story on my daily dive where I highlight a player that's very underrated, but just telling a little bit about his story. So that's set to drop today. I also have a basketball blog, recruiting blog I'll talk about as well. Probably try to highlight a high-end player. And then football, obviously, this is a big month. A lot of recruits, a lot of offers being sent out, to different guys. A lot of guys are blowing up in 28, 27, and 26 class. So probably we'll highlight somebody that's kind of blown up a little bit and getting a lot of staying here in the state. But yeah, that's kind of how it looks for me.
And then I was talking to Max just about Tyler reaching out, seeing the article that was written about him, retweeting it, giving Max a shout out. How rewarding is that for you, Najee, when you highlight some of these kids that have reached out, they want attention, you're able to go in there, look at what they've accomplished, and give them a spotlight?
Yeah, it's no bigger feeling as a writer or as a reporter to see just a kid appreciate you writing about them and appreciate you highlighting their work. Some kids do it, some kids don't. but the ones that do, it definitely means something to you because, you know, a lot of them want that attention and exposure. Like, I give you an example. The one I'm coming out today, you know, he wants me to use my platform in order to kind of get him more out there, you know, in terms of just getting his name and things like that. So when you can build your name, and that's what kind of Max is starting to do here in the state, just being able to be known in terms of the recruits and one of those kind of top-end reporters, it really means a lot when you can help touch these kids and not only just, you know, write about them, but help them get highlighted and then to a level where a college coach can see them, and the next thing you know, they're getting an offer or they're getting to the next stage of their career and their journey.
And so we're mentioning Max is covering the swimming. You've got the Class 5A, and then what other sports are you going to be focused on just on a weekly or bi-weekly basis?
So I have football and basketball. You know, I did a recruiting ball last week on lacrosse. So it's every 3 weeks. So I'll be focused on that. The season kind of starts here pretty soon, pretty much less than a month away. And then obviously football, I feel like I'm probably one of the, you know, I wouldn't say the top guys here in the state, but I'm pretty known as far as recruits. I get a lot of guys that want stories and stuff, so that's why I took football. And basketball, I feel like is just another sport we've always talked about, Craig, that's just underrated here in the state of Georgia with the lottery picks that we produce and the top-end guys. And I think it definitely needs more exposure than what it is.
And then, obviously, we got Max here, Hayden, Seth as well. In terms of signing day coming up, we had a great show on early signing day, highlighting the class of 2025. It's a big day coming up. We've seen a lot of movement. I feel like the fact that it's Ohio State, Notre Dame playing, that's going to be exciting as well. Just the absence of SEC teams, some other teams getting into the spotlight. How big do you think this signing day is going to be, and how excited are you to just team up with everyone and try to provide the best coverage possible?
Yeah, I'm super excited. With everything with the transfer portal going on right now in that winter window, it is a tougher window for a lot of kids. So you're going to see kind of the kids that didn't necessarily get maybe those top Power 4 offers, but still trying to find a home, right? Maybe like a team is, hey, we got this scholarship open, this guy hit the portal. You'll see those kids probably trying to get those type of offers in terms of schools for this class. But you're going to see a lot of like FCS offers going out, which is not a bad thing. It's always good. Probably Sun Belt. You'll probably see a lot of guys going out with their board and trying to get D2, D3. So when it comes out to this window, kids got to be open and honest with themselves and just say, hey, this might be for a year. I go to this school, do what you're supposed to do while you're there, and then end up transferring up. I think that's a key point with this window, with how everything is going until it is changed. It is a little bit tougher for some of these kids, but it's a lot of great kids out there just looking for a home.
That's a great point. I feel like this signing day is a great opportunity for Georgia State, Georgia Southern, just the lower tier behind Georgia and Georgia Tech. Max, real quick, what stories do you have coming out today?
So today I'll have one on Commerce hiring Lenny Gregory as their new head coach. And then, yeah, that's about what I got for today.
That will be a big one. Certainly a huge hire. And we mentioned he's in that region with Elbert County. Andy Dyer, the former Archer coach, should be very excited. Max, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on the other side with one more segment to talk about the flag football grant by the Atlanta Falcons. All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Time for our final segment of the show. I'm with Max and Najee Wilkins. We're going to talk about two exciting grants that are really helping both flag football and football in the state of Georgia, helping Georgia become a leader in both of these sports nationwide. And we got Najee on. He just raised his hand. I want to talk to him real quick, though, about Chris Millman.
Hold on. I got some breaking news.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, so just broke by 92.9 The Game. Former Pro Football Hall of Famer, former Miami legend, Ed Reed has been hired as the offensive coordinator for Chamblee High School. I wanted to break that. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
That is interesting. And did you know Jamal Lewis is their recruiting coordinator at Chamblee?
Wow.
So that is huge.
No.
Wow. You said the Ed Reed.
The Ed Reed, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Baltimore Raven
He was
legend.
just head coaching somewhere too, wasn't he? Ed Reed?
Yeah, it kind of fell through. It was the HBCU, but left.
And they were teammates for the Ravens?
Yes, they were.
Yep.
Perfect. That makes sense. So Chamblee is doing some big things. Great breaking news right there. So Najee, we were talking about these grants for flag football, how to apply for these grants, get the funding for a program. Even if you already have a program, they can provide the additional support. Also, the Guardian Caps, that's another program for teams that want to get involved with that. We actually saw Burke County, who reached the state championship this year. Their entire team were the Guardian Caps. I think Cartersville is another school that is introducing this new helmet technology. But I wanted to talk about flag football and Chris Millman. He's been huge, Najee, in growing the sport of flag football throughout the state of Georgia, working with the Atlanta Falcons. You got to call the first flag football games with Chris. What was that like, just being in the booth with someone that has been so just dedicated to making sure flag football is leading the way in Georgia?
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job, Chris Millman, just being able to see the growth, see where the sport is going, and get a head start on it. He's done that ever since, back to when it first was implemented. Early, I believe it was mid-2010s. So obviously, shout out to him and what he's doing. But a phenomenal grant program. I enjoyed it. I thought, we both did a good job of just highlighting. We both were learning some different things about the sport, certain rules and things like that. But I think it's great. One, getting it televised. One, partnering with the Score Atlanta brand and the Georgia Elite Classic brand as well. Being able to bring it to an all-star game, and then with the Corky Kell brand, being able to put it on TV and showcase these girls. So I think it's phenomenal what they're doing for the community. That they're partnering with these different schools and giving them different grant opportunities, $10,000. These programs are getting to kind of jumpstart it, and we're seeing it get televised more and more. So it's obviously big. The proliferation is great right now, and I think he's done a great job getting a head start on this.
Yeah, and it sounds too good to be true. You can just apply for the grant. You can get $10,000 to start your program. You can also get that $5,000 of support. That's obviously provided by the Atlanta Falcons. All you have to do is scan that QR code right there and apply. I want to ask you, Max, how big do you think it is for the Atlanta Falcons right now to be so invested in sports like flag football early on, knowing that it can really give them a leg up nationwide?
For sure, and if you look at what the sport has already done this season, whether it was at the Georgia Elite Classic or the Corky Kell Flag Football Classic we had earlier this year, these girls love it, and they love the sport, and the coaches love it, and they love their team. And I think it's just something that will continue to just keep growing the more people get involved.
Yeah, and I was talking to Adam Quack. I think there's 5 colleges in the state of Georgia right now that offer flag football scholarships to athletes. And I think that's really where the future is going to be, is scholarship opportunities to play at the next level. Najee, what's your take on the Guardian Caps and what we've seen with some of the teams kind of experimenting with those? Where do you see the future of that helmet technology?
Yeah, I hope it continues to evolve and get better and better. We've seen it a little bit. Unfortunately, we've seen it, yesterday in the Packers and Eagles game. Romeo Doubs had the Guardian Cap on because he suffered a concussion in Week 9 and still kind of had that similar impact. So obviously, right now, it's still kind of a test. It's still figuring out how things are, going to go as far as the technology. But I hope it continues to enhance where it can be something that these kids can use and they can protect against concussions and head injury, because that's what's most important. We want these kids to play longer. We want them to be smarter about it, and we want them to be healthy as well at the end of the day when their playing careers are eventually done. I do like it. I just hope we continue to enhance the technology for it where it can really help out kids, not only on the high school level, but the collegiate level, and also professionally. But I think it's great that the Falcons are giving out 50 Guardian caps to schools where they can use this during practice and continue to, be able to help them, as far as their safety and as far as their health.
You bet. And so tune in on Wednesday. You see the QR code right there. We will have Chris Millman on to talk about the flag football grant, and then Aaron Hansen, the CEO of the Guardian Cap Outreach Program. That'll be on Wednesday's show. But that is all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for more. Go to scoreatl.com. We got plenty of coverage coming up.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting gogcso.com for more information. Gwinnett County, together we can make a difference.
Basic combat training is a 10-week experience that will challenge you both physically and mentally. Each phase of your training will introduce you to new soldier skills, building and advancing them along the way. You and your fellow soldiers will work as a team to accomplish each mission, overcome each obstacle, and earn the right to wear the black beret of an Army National Guard soldier.